Down in Florida, 2 goals in 11 seconds, not once, but twice.
The Stars finally align in Dallas.
And plus, there are 7 teams now searching for a new head coach.
All that and so much more on this Monday night Stanley Cup Playoff edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey there, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Cam Stewart, a bitter Boston Bruins fan on the third coast.
And I'm Tyler Feldman, a lifelong Penguins fan, born and raised in Pittsburgh, but currently loving life in Austin, Texas. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV. Locked On to learn more. Now, Cam, we got treated to 7 straight days of overtime hockey here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's the second longest streak all time. Just 2 games on the docket tonight, though. So could we make it 8? Could we make it 8, Cam?
Oof. 8 would have been great, Tyler. It really would have. But streaks, they're meant to be snapped. We got pretty spoiled with it. The Panthers come back, stun the Lightning 4-2. They take a 3-1 lead in that series, and the Stars get the edge in their series with the Avs. They stomp Colorado 6-2 in what turned into kind of a manic game in the middle of it. Let's start with the Battle of Florida. We had the controversy in the Washington-Montreal game on Sunday night. We get similar controversy in this one Monday night between these two heated rivals. They're at it once again. The visiting team had won each game going into game 4. That streak was snapped as well. It was 2-1 Lightning for a good bit of this game. They got there with 2 goals in 11 seconds in the second period. The Panthers won up them 2 goals in 11 seconds in the third period to take it. An empty netter makes it 4-2, and they have a commanding 3-1 lead in this series. We saw all of it, man. We saw the 2 goal spurts. We saw some questionable calls. We saw a game misconduct. We even saw John Cooper get fired up on the bench. We don't usually see a lot of that, but it's the Cats, the defending champs, who come away with the commanding lead. Armando Velez was there down in Sunrise with the report from Locked On Panthers.
The comeback Cats come through and take a 3-1 series lead. What is up, guys? Armando Velez here from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, here from Amerant Bank Arena as the Cats defeat the Bolts by final score of 4-2 in Game 4. And for the Panthers, it was a hard time for them getting to the net front and getting second chance opportunities on Andrei Vasilevsky, but the Panthers kept pressing on, and after killing a 5-minute major with Niko Mikkola getting a game misconduct for a boarding call on Girgensons, the Panthers kill it off and get 2 goals in 11 seconds, just like the Tampa Bay Lightning did in the second period. But for the Panthers, they kept continuing on, and Aaron Ekblad and Seth Jones were on the board for them to help them get the victory. We're going to break all this down on tomorrow's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Your team every day.
All right, Tyler, let's start with the hockey, okay? We will get into the extra stuff later, the stuff that's not hockey that the Panthers have become so good at. But it was kind of a nice, good, old-school playoff game for a lot of this. 2-1 throughout, and then that late flurry from the Cats, including a seeing eye shot from Seth Jones for what turns out to be the game-winning goal. This was kind of that, heart of a champion type stuff at the end.
Well, let's first talk about the fact that I have never seen 2 goals scored 11 seconds apart from 2 different teams in the same hockey game, one at the start of the game, one at the end of the game. I don't know if this was Tampa Bay blowing it or Florida just figuring out a way how to win this game. Either way, Florida takes a 3-1 series lead. Hard to believe, given the fact that I really thought the Lightning were going to win this hockey game, and then all that extra stuff that you were talking about took place. Tampa Bay, in this series, 4 games, they are 0 for 14 on the power play. That is how you lose a series, Cam.
Yeah.
Not scoring on the man advantage. And if you go back to the regular season, in every game that Tampa Bay has played against Florida this season, 33 tries on the power play. They have just 3 goals.
Ugh.
They're around a 13% conversion rate on that power play during the regular season and here during the playoffs. And then against Florida in particular, less than 10%. So something about playing the Panthers, either it's the Panthers penalty kill that has figured out Tampa Bay's power play, or the Panthers just get it done for some reason, and the Bolts just can't figure out their man advantage, their system against their in-state rival.
And part of the reason the Bolts looked so good in the last month and a half of the season was in part the special teams, but in a large part Andrei Vasilevsky as well. He wasn't terrible in this game, but that last goal is one he's got to come up with.
That's the big one.
Such an bizarro Vasilevsky goal from Seth Jones. CNI shot somehow gets between his arm and the pad there. It's a terrible one to give up. It's a terrible loss for the Lightning, and it could well sink their season. So let's check in with Josh Sperber of Locked On Lightning on how they need to bounce back from this one.
I'm pretty dumbfounded, honestly, by how the Lightning just lost that game. I mean, that Ekblad hit on Brandon Hagel that took him out for the rest of the game in the second period. Definitely a dirty hit. The Lightning respond to that one perfectly. Hagel goes to the locker room. Ekblad stays on the ice the rest of the game. First and foremost, I think that was a big mistake by NHL officials. Ekblad should have at least gotten a 5-minute penalty for that elbow to the neck on Brandon Hagel that knocked him out of the game. And it cost the Lightning, I think, late. You know, the Lightning got a little bit too comfortable. After that third period, it seemed like after the 5-minute mark, the Lightning just took their foot off the gas. It really felt like they thought they had it won. And it took the Panthers a couple minutes, but they jumped right back on them and took the game over. And this is a game the Lightning should have won. And frankly, this is a game that the Lightning let the Panthers get back in the game and win late in the third period. And you could talk about the refs missing that call, you know, whatever you want to say, but the Lightning blew this, and this was just not a Game 5 that you wanted to see for Tampa Bay. 3-1 is the series lead now in favor of Florida, and it is going to be a tall order for the Tampa Bay Lightning to try and take this series by winning the next 3 games.
Now, on the ice, you know, the Panthers, they get the goals, right? They win this game somewhat fair and square. And I say somewhat because Josh mentioned the Aaron Ekblad hit in there, the one that does not get a penalty. This is a flying armbar straight to the face of Brandon Hagel, who, of course, they're trying to get back at. Brandon Hagel had a dirty hit earlier in the series. I thought that suspension was worthy. That hit was worthy of a suspension, I should say. But that is just like the Sam Bennett hit against the Bruins last year. The reverse check, that's actually a sucker punch to a guy who's now playing for the Panthers, coincidentally enough, and Brad Marchand. And who scores the game-tying goal but Aaron Ekblad?
And he actually scored it twice. They had that offside call that they reviewed a minute earlier, and they actually disallowed that goal. It was the right call, and then Ekblad comes back again and gets the game-tying goal. It should have been a penalty on Ekblad. The referee was moving out of the way to not get hit, and as he was spinning, he was out of position to make the appropriate call. I'm not making an excuse for the official. That's just what I saw on every replay that we saw. It should have been a penalty. It wasn't called. It shouldn't have been a suspended or game misconduct. It was a physical hockey play that warranted a penalty. I think saying that it was like out of the game, you're gone, that's a little bit too much.
I think that's close, man. That's a Kevin McHale clothesline there.
Either way, I've never seen John Cooper so fired up. He was irate on the bench and verbally so to both his players and to the officials on the ice. And then that immediately led to, less than a minute later, Chafee scoring it to tie the game at 1, and then Chernak scoring to make it 2-1. And so Tampa Bay took that momentum, and you thought that they were going to close out the game. But like Josh said, they got a little bit too comfortable. And then all of a sudden, Florida gets more physical. They continue that intensity. And the Lightning, who's their enforcer? Who's their guy?
It's a good question.
Who's their guy to kind of handle those situations? Because it seemed like They didn't have one, especially in this game. And so you have Ekblad scoring the game-tying goal, and then Seth Jones beating Vasilevsky. And I'm telling you, that should not have gotten past a goaltender of that caliber. There was a little traffic in front, but it's not like Seth got a ton on that puck. And all of a sudden, it's Florida who has 2 goals in 11 seconds late in the third period to counteract the 2 goals in 11 seconds that were scored midway through the second period for Tampa Bay.
And both coaches have said it in this series. It became a war of words. We only hit guys who have the puck. Paul Maurice, your guys hit guys who are on all fours and are up against the boards. The Mikko Mikkola hit, which he does get a game misconduct for, is so freaking Bush League, man. I mean, you got a guy who's on all fours here, Jurgensen's. And not only does Mikkola hit him, he doesn't have the puck. He's on all fours. He hits him with direct contact to the head into the boards. The Panthers have been unstoppable the last couple of years. And that's where a ton of jealousy comes from in this league. I totally understand that.
We can hear it. We can hear it from your voice.
But this isn't just a hate us because they ain't us thing. That's why we hate you. The dirty, gutless way they play this game is so freaking Bush League, man. I can't even believe it. And we'll see if Mikkola gets a suspension. I'll give him the credit. They did kick him out of the game. But
I do think that will warrant a suspension.
Way over the line.
I do think that will warrant a suspension. I know, and you can attest on this show so far, I've usually gone the route of that's a physical hockey play. But that for sure warranted the game misconduct. I do think a suspension will happen because he was helpless on the ice, head toward the board, and it was clearly a cross check. So yes, on that point, dirty play should not happen at all, ever. But when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, I go back to this. Josh said it too. Tampa Bay collapsed in this hockey game tonight, and they allowed the physicality that the Panthers brought to this hockey game, that rat-like play, if you want to use that reference because it's Florida, because Tampa Bay squandered. They got small when they needed to play a little bit bigger, and they allowed the physicality of the Panthers to overtake this game, keep Florida in this game, even though it looked like Tampa Bay should have won this hockey game. That physicality of Florida helped them win the hockey game, and now they have a commanding 3-1 series lead.
Yep.
So you could hate it.
I do.
And you could be frustrated, and one guy's going to probably be suspended, but at the same time, hockey game.
Yep. And to your point too, someone's got to answer the bell on the other side, right? The Tampa didn't have it last year. The Bruins certainly didn't have it last year. The Rangers didn't have it last year. You know, they didn't have a guy who would hit back. And Tampa again doesn't have it. There's no Pat Maroon walking through that door like it was a few years ago when they were winning.
Who's your Tom Wilson? Who's your guy?
That's what you have to have, man.
And I know the game of hockey has changed dramatically. The physicality has changed. The fighting has certainly changed to a degree, but it's still hockey. And there's still that physical element that makes it the sport that we all love. And so if you can't bring that physicality and match a team like Florida, then yeah, you're probably going to lose the hockey game. And that's what happened.
And you said it, the NHL is going in a different direction, and you could see that a lot in the next series we're going to talk about. It is skill on skill with Colorado and Dallas. Something's got to give. Someone's walking away this morning with a 3-2 series lead. We'll tell you who got there and how. It's coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night.
But first, tonight's show is brought to you by Game Time. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and if you've never been to an NHL playoff game, it is unlike anything you've ever seen. The intensity, the speed, the energy inside the arena, it's all next level, and thanks to Game Time, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever before. Game Time is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets, even for those must-see matchups. Prices actually drop as puck drop gets closer, and with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60%. And here's what I really love about Game Time. Last-minute deals, saving up to 60%. Buy last minute for not just sports, but also concerts, comedy, theater, you name it. Their all-in pricing shows the total cost up front, which I really love because there are no surprise fees at checkout. And with Game Time ticket coverage, I know I'm protected, whether it's cancellation protection, job loss assurance, or their 24-hour return guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL. That is LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Let's take you down to where the stars at night are big and bright. It certainly was that way on this night. The stars all over Colorado. Something had to give. We said someone was going to go out with a 3-2 series lead, and it is the home team skating off happy. 6-2, all stars for the majority of this game. And usually on Monday nights, we have or Tuesday mornings, if you're listening to it, we have
He said, what?
We usually have it in the third segment, but we have to expedite it tonight because Tyler went out and got the quote of the night, and it leads right into this game. Tyler, what did Peter DeBoer have to say about this one?
Well, pregame, this whole series, the stars, they've been banged up. We've been waiting for their stars to arrive in this series. And so pregame, before Game 5 on Monday night, Pete DeBoer was quoted saying, I don't think any of our big guys have delivered yet in this series, but the beauty is it's time now. This is money time. So I actually like the fact that we haven't yet because I think these guys are all due. So no Heiskanen, no Robertson again in this hockey game. But for the 5 goals tonight you get from Johnston, Rantanen, and Marchment, you had the stars come out tonight. And finally, so Pete DeBoer, he asked for it. He said they were all due. He said it's money time. And he said, what? Because what he said was delivered on the ice in Dallas this evening.
And it was delivered right away. Wyatt Johnston, the quickest goal in Stars playoff history, 9 seconds into the game. This weird behind the goal line goal where Nathan McKinnon is caught flat-footed.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what there? It was just a poor job hugging that post by Blackwood.
Yeah.
That was a bad goal.
Series.
That was a bad goal. And he'll say that too, because those first 2 goals in that first period, not good enough for Blackwood. And at that point, and we could get to that, I'll let you get back on track here with the recap. 9 seconds in, fastest in Stars history in a playoff game, 5th fastest in NHL playoff history. So Wyatt Johnston, big night for a guy who has had a big season for Dallas.
Yeah, it's tough to get much faster than that, if we're being honest. 9 seconds. I mean, this is right off the face-off. And that second goal is a really weird one. It bounces. It's up on Blackwood's back. It hits the crossbar and then off his back and into the net with just under a minute left to go in the first. And would you believe me if I told you that was the Dallas Stars' first multi-goal lead in 3 weeks? April 8th was the last time they had a multi-goal lead.
That's crazy.
They go into the game only leading 62 seconds for the entire series, and that was put to rest. They led for all but 9 seconds of this game, which is just crazy.
And going back to Blackwood, it was a blocker save. The puck blockered up him. He couldn't see the puck because if you're a goalie, if you've ever played goalie before, once the puck's in the air like that with your goalie mask on, you can't see it. So it was an unfortunate ricochet off his blocker that it went up. He was trying to back up fast enough to block out the crossbar. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It hit right off his letters, off the crossbar and in.
Yeah, you're trying to back up so that it's not basically not doing that. You want it to land in front of you so at least you can see it. It's the worst possible scenario. So it goes to 3-0 Dallas early in the second. Colorado does make it a game, which you don't think with this score line, but they make it 3-2. And I think we're all sitting there like, okay,
here we go.
Here it comes. You know, this is McKinnon has points on both of them. He assists the first one. He scores the second one.
That second goal was just, I mean, what a player.
Man amongst boys.
5th goal in the series. No one's even close to the output that he's producing. That guy can play hockey, and I think you saw some of his frustration on the bench at different points. When you're a star like that and things aren't going your way, how are you reacting?
Yeah.
Tough one because Dallas, to their credit, I'd argue this is the best game we've seen from them in this series, and that should scare the rest of the Western Conference playing right now.
Absolutely, man. And it was basically a pushback right after that game got to 3-2. Colorado takes a bad interference penalty. The Stars score, and there's just too much Dallas in this one. They go on to win it 6-2. Joey Erickson, Joey the Jet of Locked On Stars, takes us through this crucial win for Dallas.
Well, the Dallas Stars came to play tonight. Wyatt Johnston with a couple of goals and an assist. Mikko Rantanen scores his first playoff goal as a Dallas Star, as well as the Stars offense explodes for 6 to take down the Avalanche in Game 5. Mackenzie Blackwood gave the Stars a favor early, 9 seconds in, Johnston scoring from below the goal line. But after that, the Stars did an excellent job of scoring a couple of timely goals at the end of the second period after Colorado made things interesting, and Dallas played a really strong third period, and it was a heck of a response after being shut out in Game 4 to come back home, get a massive victory, and now the toughest challenge has yet to come, and that's the closeout game in just a couple of days. But a hard, physical, nasty playoff game, and Dallas was ready for it, and credit to them, and a big-time victory in Game 5 for the Stars.
And let's look at the stars, not the Dallas Stars, but the superstars for each side. You said it with Pete DeBoer, needs them to step up on the Dallas side. 3 points for Wyatt Johnston, 3 points for Mikko Rantanen. Cale Makar, on the other hand, -3. If you get Cale Makar to a -3 in a playoff game, you're going to win a lot of those. My question to you, Tyler, we've seen a little bit of a trend here, okay? The Stars get punched in the mouth in one game. They come back the next. They head up to Denver for Game 6. What are the odds for you that we're coming back to Big D for Game 7?
After this game, I could really see Dallas close things out in Denver.
Okay,
how about this first stat? The Stars have 14 wins after a playoff loss. That's dating back to 2022. That's the second most in that time span. Only the Oilers have more wins after a loss with 15. The way in which I saw Dallas play tonight, sure, they got some help in the first period and they used that momentum. But that point where Colorado made it a 3-2 game and you thought, oh boy, here we go. The Avalanche are going to possibly tie this game, take the lead. How is Ottinger going to respond? Well, he responded with some really big saves. He had 27 tonight after getting pulled in Game 4 in that 4-0 loss. This was the response. This was the game that the Stars were waiting for. Whether you were in the locker room for Dallas these last few weeks or you were a fan, you're like, what's going on with this Dallas team? This was the game you were waiting for. And I think this game, this win, the way in which they did it, can really turn the corner for a Dallas team that I know you picked going a little bit farther than I did in this playoff at our bracket challenge. So I could very well be convinced that this is the game that really punches Colorado out of the postseason.
They looked like the Stars. They looked like the Stars tonight. And by the way, how about this?
The Stars came alive.
Since moving to Dallas, Stars are 16-1 when they have a 3-2 series lead. 16-1. The only loss was to the 2019 Blues, which I think would defy every single stat that you could ever throw at them. But 9 of those 17 previous have gone to a Game 7. Oh, that's going to be a fun one up in Denver in a couple of nights.
Thursday night.
We have got all kinds of teams looking for a coach, and the Pittsburgh Penguins can now be added to that list. Let's take a look at Mike Sullivan and where he could end up. Let's do it next as we close out Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, a message from our friends over at FanDuel. The playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how easy FanDuel makes betting. I mean, so easy that I can win money off it. So, you know, it's pretty easy. Whether I'm picking my favorite team or diving into the player props, three-pointers, steals, and assists in the NBA games, I'm loading up on all of them. And then I'm making them into a same-game parlay as well, so I have even more chances to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. If I can do it, you can do it. One more time, head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. We're still rocking here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Cam Stewart, Tyler Feldman. We've gone through our games of the night, but we are not done with the NHL news. We get big news out of Pittsburgh. Tyler's team. If we, we're two guys who don't have teams in the playoffs right now, so we can talk about our fandom a little bit. Mike Sullivan, 2-time Stanley Cup winner with the Penguins, out in the Steel City. Tyler, take it away. What's going on here?
An emotional day because he helped lead the Penguins to 2 Stanley Cups back-to-back in 16 and 17. The Penguins don't win those Stanley Cups without him. 10 years, 10 seasons in Pittsburgh.
That's a lot.
How Pittsburgh feels about Mike Sullivan and how Mike Sullivan feels about Pittsburgh, that will never change. His legacy cemented as one of the all-time greatest coaches within that organization. Sidney Crosby was told by Kyle Dubas about five minutes, I think, prior. Did we lose Cam?
I'm here.
We may have lost Cam on the cam. Anyway, the Penguins are now searching for a new head coach. After 10 seasons, 2 Stanley Cups, Pittsburgh is without a head coach. Mike Sullivan, I think it was time. I was surprised, but not really. I was surprised because the organization a couple weeks ago had talked about where they were. And between that point and today, when they fired Mike Sullivan, obviously something changed. But I think the time has come for Pittsburgh to enact that change at the head coaching position. If you think about it, looking at the numbers, the average head coaching tenure in the NHL is just 2.3 years. So Mike Sullivan lasting a decade in Pittsburgh is incredible. Everything he accomplished, it was just time. And now there are 7 teams in the league looking for a new head coach. The Ducks, the Bruins, the Blackhawks, the Rangers, the Flyers, the Penguins, and the Kraken. So Cam, we can crack this wide open.
Yeah.
There are a lot of changes that are going to happen, and change is constant in that head coaching role in the NHL, but some big decisions for a lot of these teams to make.
Yeah, the timing does seem weird. There was no difference where the Penguins finished in the standings from this week as to 2 weeks ago or so when the season ended. But Mike Sullivan, you said it. I mean, that's a long tenure in today's NHL, and obviously very successful. So you mentioned the 7 teams, obviously one of them being Pittsburgh, so they're out. Regardless of fit or play style, which one do you think is looking for a coach like Mike Sullivan? There are some big-time American teams out there for an American coach in Mike Sullivan that could be looking for his services.
Well, we know his ties to Boston.
Will that be weird? His son-in-law's on the team. His son-in-law could be the captain of the team.
I know the Rangers have been a conversation starter from Mike Sullivan as well. So you added the Flyers. There's a chance that the Penguins will be seen. Mike Sullivan's going to get a job. If he wants a job, he's going to get a job. He's going to be a quick hire. You got 7 openings. Mike Sullivan will get one of those 7 openings. But I don't know. I think it's funny, though, because the Kraken fired Dan Bylsma after only a year. Dan Bylsma, former head. I really don't think that's going to happen. But I wanted to say it out loud just to hear how it sounded.
I do think as the resident Bruins fan here, I would like it. I wouldn't say it's like the most kind of pick ever, but I would like it. The guy's won 2 Stanley Cups. He has coached the Bruins before a long time ago. It would be an easy sell for a front office that is part of a sinking ship right now. Marshfield native, Marshfield, Mass, pride of the South Shore, hometown of Steven Tyler and Jeremy Roenick, if you're keeping score at home. It's pretty good company.
That's a good fun fact because many don't know this, being from Pittsburgh, but Jeremy Roenick was actually my favorite player growing up.
Really?
So I wore 97 my amateur hockey days.
It's a kick-ass number, by the way.
It's just it's a great number. It's just one of those things in Pittsburgh, you kind of whisper, my favorite player is a Flyer.
Yeah, that's weird. You could say he's a Blackhawk. I mean, of course, he wore 27 with the Blackhawks, but
I just feel like Jeremy Roenick in my eyes is a Flyer.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. That would have been my number if I had played any kind of hockey. 97. Same reason for Crosby wearing 87, McDavid wearing 97.
Yeah.
So that's a good fun fact there, man. I could see Mike Sullivan absolutely doing that, but I could also see him saying, you know what, I got some more promise in a place like Anaheim, where they've got a good young core there, young, but a core, and
that may be the most attractive. That may be the most attractive job out in Anaheim.
I think it is
with all that young talent.
And I mean, obviously, the Rangers, the Bruins, and the Blackhawks, while great American franchises, they're all messes, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, Pittsburgh's a mess too. And so if I'm Mike Sullivan, I don't know if I want to go to somewhere like that and be locked into the same thing. Of course, though, it seemed like up till last week he wanted to coach the Penguins still. So we'll see. We'll
Out of
certainly
those 7 jobs, I put the Penguins in the bottom 3
it's a
as
tough
to
situation,
most
man.
desirable, just because of where they're at. Obviously, you'd get to coach Sidney Crosby, but that organization right now needs some influx of younger talent.
Yeah,
They don't have the cap space. So,
and I think there's questions with ownership too. They take over, and all of a sudden you're in this transitional period. Fenway Sports Group obviously owning the Red
it's no
Sox as
longer
well.
it's no longer Mario Lemieux's team. His
Yep.
team's been sold, so you don't have that interconnection to the team and the team owner. Even though, I mean, Fenway Sports Group, they own Liverpool, and Liverpool
They just won the Premier League.
Premier League. So
Yep.
whatever they're doing, it seems like it's working. But it's also, Pittsburgh was an interesting purchase at the same time. Storied franchise, but it's anytime I hear Fenway Sports Group and you own a team that's not located in Boston, it just sounds off. Doesn't mean it's not working, but you don't have that personal connection between the ownership group and the city of Pittsburgh. And the way in which the city of Pittsburgh operates is so tight-knit that I think that's what played so well with Mario Lemieux owning the team for as long as he did, and saving the team and keeping the team in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Same thing in Boston, just different city. We don't necessarily love outsiders coming in to run our team. So I totally get it from the other side. So we will keep track of that and where Mike Sullivan is going. And I mean, we've got a bunch of coaching vacancies to keep up with as we go on throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. That is the night that was in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, ring that notification bell so you can stay up to date on everything we're doing on YouTube and, of course, wherever you get your podcast as well. I want to thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network a part of your daily routine. And just remember, for me, you could join us 7 days a week for all the NHL scores and storylines from your local experts and the guys like us. Tyler Feldman with me. I'm Cam Stewart on Locked On NHL Game Night.